Okay. I've wanted to do this video for a long time. These are true events that took place 23 years ago. At that time, I was living in Milford and working, of course, in Milford. And at that time, I was 3 years sober and really just living a wonderful life. I had bought that house, which was my dream shop, and everything was actually happening the way that I was visualizing things. So I came to practice the two-step program I call Visualize and Expect, and then, which will be another video. But what made all of this possible was a mind state, the daily practice of going through the day and doing a gratitude list. That completely changed my life and led to all of these things. And you'd be surprised, really, on the worst day you've ever had in your life, there's still things that happen to be grateful for. And what I do, what I used to do on a daily basis, is at the end of the day, just lay down in bed, lay flat. This is important to the story, okay? With my arms and legs just spread, super comfortable, and do the review. And then I would, in that state of mind, an exhaustive review, I would just kind of like throw it out there, like, how could my life be better? And sometimes I'll develop a list of things. And one of the things that I did right at that time was I asked, what are the right questions to ask? And that was really a stroke of brilliance, and that what my answer, like, this is funny, right? Like, but this is true. What is a great ape? I've heard the term. I don't know what it means. What is it? Okay. And while we're on the subject, what, if anything, is so special about humans? So, like, the next day, maybe it was the day after, I turn on the TV, and on the Discovery Channel, they're showing literally the answer to my question. Great apes, there's 4 of them. There's gorilla, there's orangutan. I don't recall what the other ones are, but what makes them separate from the other hominids is, if they are hominids, what from the monkeys, is that they have the ability to demonstrate empathy. I gave examples, and one that I remember is a gorilla in a cage, the caretaker outside of the cage with the empty food bucket upside down on his head, kind of stumbling around like a zombie, and the gorilla reaches out and guides him. So then they go on to explain how human beings, and this is the other question, how human beings from the age of 2.5 to 3 years old are able to perceive events in time. And they gave an example of a baboon not being able to perceive something in time. So, baboon's sitting on a rock in a field, having some food, and he looks over and sees his mother sitting in the road, and sees there's a truck coming, and it's headed towards his mother, but it doesn't mean anything to him until the truck crashes into his mother, and then he's all freaked out about it, but he literally never saw it coming. So they can't perceive events at time. Human beings can do this from 2.5 to 3 years old. And none of the other animals can do it. So there is something that actually is special about human beings, and that means something to me. That's what I wanted to know. So these answers come really quickly. So do my gratitude list, and my friend Steve, he insists on loaning me a book, and I explained to him that I don't borrow books, I don't loan books, because I don't ever want to be that guy that doesn't give the book back. And he says, well, I'm giving you the book so you don't have to give it back. And so I'm out of excuses, and the book that he wants to loan me is way beyond my capabilities. Okay, this is the book, Einstein's Book of Relativity. Thank you, Steve. He said it was written for lay people, and I read a little bit of this after I do my gratitude list, and something about reading in bed just makes me just go out. So, you know, after a week of reading this thing, like, and I'm going along with it, you know, I'm getting the stuff. Like, it's the beginning of the book is Einstein doing what he calls mind experiments. So typically he's got a guy with a clock doing something. So an example, you got a guy on a train holding a clock, and the train's moving, and there's a guy on the ground watching the train go by. A guy on the train throws the clock out the window. So the guy on the train watches as the clock arcs downward and to the back of the train and smashes into the ground. But the guy standing on the ground sees the clock come off the train and go forwards and smash into the ground. And so this is like what Einstein was obsessing over time, and ultimately trying to understand God's mind. What his breakthrough moment when he asked for that. But this constant toying with events in time, and people seeing the same event actually perceiving something very different was kind of the point of that one. So I reach a point in the book, Lorenz's theorem, and I have no idea how to solve that. I really don't. That's 23 years later. I have no idea. But I'm trying, and it's making me dizzy, and I'm already exhausted, and like I've done every night for the last week or so. Yeah, page 32. It took me a week to get there. put the book out just like I do, just put arms and legs out, put the book down, so got my thumb in the book, put it out, and it's in a safe place and I can just go to sleep. And I wake up energized, from this gratitude list and really enabled. If I could just put one word on what gratitude does for you, it puts your brain into an enabled state. Now I'm thinking about time travel all the time because of this book I'm reading. And so a couple more questions. What would a time machine look like? Certainly not the absurd Victorian era sled with knobs and big brass, copper disc on the back. Or do you even need one? You've got this thing about humans being able to perceive things in time, right? So, and then a very perplexing question. It's another one I laid out, which is what experiment could you do that you could actually, so let's say that I created some time travel thing. What experiment could I do that would prove time travel to a witness? So, for example, I go to the future and I come back with currency from the future. It's gonna look different, right? Like if I was to do this now, take $100 bill back to 23 years ago with the blue stripe and the big giant Ben Franklin on there, people wouldn't believe that it was real money. And so you can't do that. You can't bring a newspaper back, and you can't even bring yourself back. If there's two of us here and we both claim to be the same person and we're a day apart in age, then you're gonna think that I've got a brother or a look-alike. And if it's the 23-year-older version of me that's standing there next to myself and we're both telling you that's me, then you're gonna say, well, that's your dad, or that's an uncle, or something. Like there's a resemblance there, but you wouldn't believe it. There's always an explanation. There's always, bring an iPhone back. It's got a fancy calculator that doesn't even work as a phone. So, so there's two more questions there. What would a travel machine look like? Do you even need one? And what experiment could prove time travel to be real? Okay, so I'm stuck on this book, and I really can't get past it, and I just want to give it back to Steve. And I go to look for the book and I can't find it, and it's always in my bed or it's on the nightstand. Either way, it's like right at the end of my hand. And this turns into a thing, like me trying to get work done and having a tool missing. Like I just can't function. I gotta find this book. It's because I'm supposed to return it to him, and I've made up my mind that I'm gonna return it, even though he gave it to me. So I only agreed to that. Anyways, so I can't find the book. Tear down the bed, do the sheets, go through the laundry, do the laundry. Get nothing. Go through the room, nothing. Go all around everything. Look in the other rooms in the house, nothing. Upstairs, downstairs. A month later, I'm like, I gotta make that phone call, and I really turned the house upside down. I mean, I've literally been through the entire house twice, and no book. And of course, yeah, procrastinate. Don't want to be that guy, so I'm gonna look some more. And after a couple of months, I I reached the end of my rope, and I pick up the phone to call Steve, and I realized that he's got a very early work schedule. I work late, he works early, so um, I would be calling him in the middle of the night for him. So this was not the right time to call. So, but this is it. Tomorrow, hang the phone up. Tomorrow I'll call him. So that night, I went to bed. Now this is after 2 months, and the sheets have been washed several times. I get into the bed, and there's something in between the sheets, right at the end of my hand. I put my hand under the sheet, I slide it out, and right at the end of my hand, my thumb slides right into the binding, just like this. Just slides right into the binding. There it is at the end of my hand, right where I left it 2 months ago. And wow, blow my mind. What happened? Where did that book go for 2 months? Where was it? And no lie, it took me 6 months to figure it out, and here's what happened. The book traveled through time. Simply, the book was there, and then it was not there, and then it was there, and so that's how it kind of like went, okay, well, that happened, like, that's factual. There, not there, and then there, in the present. It didn't go anywhere, but it wasn't there for a period of time. So now I start telling people about this, and of course Steve was the first guy I told about it, and I'm telling other people about it, and I think they believe me, but it's such a weird story, and like, I'm not prone to making shit up. I'm not a storyteller. I don't write, okay? And so this really happened. But here's after I told a bunch of people, I realized that this was actually the answer to those questions. What would a travel machine look like? Do you even need one? No, you don't. All you need is the human brain. Because I asked, what experiment could you do that would prove time travel? And with nothing other than intention, just putting it out there and having a good state of mind, that book traveled through time. And in telling the story, the true story that is, over and over again, I realized at some point that this was actual proof. This was all the proof that is possible. And unless you, like, what else can you do? You'd have to, like, take somebody time traveling with you, right? And even then, I don't know, something to think about. But yeah, so that's it. That's how the answer to that question came to be. I've got the irony of Einstein's book of relativity, actually time traveling. The book time traveled. Mind blowing. Questions? Comments?